possible. Law Nation Sports. I got my guy over here to the far right, Ray Podcast. And on top of that, we have the infamous, the lovely bitches love sports. We're live, baby. From my studios to yours. Brought to you by Cowboys Experience and 72 hours of freshness with Mando. Be sure to check us out at mando.com.
Where are we at right now, Law? Let the people know where we at right now.
We're here at Thirsty Lion. Let's go. Let's get it. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come on. They say ain't party like a cowboy party. But what about a Cowboys experience, man? Come on with it.
It's nothing like that either.
Or a Law Nation experience.
Or a Law Nation experience.
Apparently.
Law Nation groove. I got my what you call that, Mr. T-chain on without the star. The star fell off of it, but we still riding with it. Come on with it. Come on with it. Go on, put it on there. Put it on there. We got
put it on there. Put it on there, girl. Put it on.
Then what you gonna say? That what she said. Put us all in. Get us all in. Get in on that. Get in on that.
Hey, by the way, both of y'all, happy Thanksgiving, y'all.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. This has been a great year.
I'm gonna reach in between right here. I ain't gonna
That's
do
what he
nothing
said.
between them legs right there.
Oh, that's not what he said. Yeah.
And we live. Yeah. This my sister right here. This my sister right here.
I cannot with y'all.
Yeah,
But
that's
yes,
my girl
Law
right
is the homie.
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving, y'all, man.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, this has been a great year.
What's the difference between Friendsgiving, Drinksgiving? Because I'm hearing all of those
No
three
difference.
givings.
So Drinksgiving
break that down.
centers around drinks instead of the food,
Okay.
or like in addition to the food.
Okay.
It all is.
Friendsgiving is a term that a lot of people like to use who still want to celebrate Thanksgiving, but they may not be doing it with their blood family. And sometimes people want to separate themselves from the history of Thanksgiving. And then, Thanksgiving is just a traditional word. I think a lot of people don't really think about where Thanksgiving came from. But for those who do and it bothers them, they're like, hey, Friendsgiving, not kicking it with the family, not really, down for the whole history of it. So I'm good for Thanksgiving or Friendsgiving, either one.
I'm not sure if y'all are historians, but if you really look at what Thanksgiving is, it ain't it ain't that pleasant of a holiday if you really.
But you know what is pleasant about this holiday?
What's pleasant?
Cowboys football.
Come on.
It's been a tradition for decades.
For decades and beyond. Hey,
how are y'all?
Yeah.
A lot of people filling up here at the Thirsty Lion.
In the words of Jameis Winston, are the Cowboys going to eat this dub on Thanksgiving? You eat on Thanksgiving.
I feel like Jameis is the only person who prepares and eats his dubs in that way.
Yeah.
But I do see the Cowboys being able to celebrate the dub with a couple turkey legs. I feel like this is going to be a good Thanksgiving for them.
Yes, indeed.
So let's dive into that, all right? So
Go get it.
Let's get into it. Well, we know the Giants, they released their quarterback. He just got picked up by the Vikings, Daniel Jones.
Oh, the Vikings picked him up?
The Vikings picked up Daniel Jones.
News. I didn't know.
So, they're saying also Tony DeVito may not be playing in this game. So it looks like it's going to be Drew Lock, maybe the starting quarterback for the Giants going into this game. I don't know how much preparation he has had to get ready for this game. In my opinion, I think the Cowboys are able. This is a dub. It should be a dub for the Giants. But, they say anything can happen any day. We don't know. Outside looking in,
I think we know enough to confidently say, the Cowboys can win this game. I don't think it's crazy to expect them to win this game. Now, we don't know what the Giants are going to bring to the table because so much has changed with their team, especially at the quarterback position, which is definitely going to change their offense. But I would say from looking at both sides of the ball, the thing that we'd be most concerned about is them starting to use more motion with the offense to try to get Malik Nabers going, because that seems to be when he actually starts to produce, and he does well. But even that, I'm not necessarily that afraid of, considering what we saw on Sunday. Was it Sunday? Monday? Sunday?
Yeah.
This whole Monday is falling by. The last game. The last game against the Commanders. And here's the thing about that. That game was one of those times where you finally saw from the Cowboys what you've been wanting to see from them all season. Because for those of us who have been following the games week after week, I think we've seen little flashes of greatness that let us know the Cowboys can do well. They can win these games. But week after week of it not happening, a lot of people got very discouraged.
Yeah.
And it just got to the point where it's like, well, I keep seeing it. I keep seeing ways that they could win, that they could do well, that like different strengths of the team that could work against the opposition, right?
Right.
It wasn't coming together. And then even against the Commanders, let's be real, it wasn't coming together really until the
It
fourth
just fell in
quarter.
place. It kind of fell into place.
Yes, it fell into place. And so now people are like, okay, we've seen Cavante do his thing. We know he's the fastest man in the NFL. We've seen Wanye, and we've seen, like, we saw Deron Bland come back and do his thing. Like, we've seen so many good things, and now people are feeling good, especially against a team that's struggling anyway, like the Giants. I would say there's more reasons to believe that the Cowboys will get a win this week than there are reasons to believe that they won't.
Oh,
So
wow.
you just
That's
mentioned
good stuff. Go ahead.
You just mentioned the Giants, and you specifically mentioned Malik Nabers.
Yes.
Let's talk about his comments he had after the game. He's like, quarterback is not the issue. They asked him, what's wrong with this team? He's like, I don't know. I don't know. Yes, Daniel Jones is struggling, and he struggled with that team for quite a while.
Man, come
he
on
did.
with it.
But there's still more factors that's going on with that team. You know,
What I thought was interesting about his comments was that what he said doesn't apply just to the Giants.
Yes.
It's just what he said is something that a lot of players don't say out loud. But I think he's right. To put the entire success or failure of a team on one person, even if it is the quarterback, I think it's a lot. And when players are in the building, when they're going to meetings, when they're going to practices, they're in the locker room, they see a lot more than what we see as fans observing the game. And I think that's where those comments came from. Because, like, yes, your quarterback will absolutely affect the outcome of the game, but so will your team culture. So will what you discuss during the meetings. So will how well you focus on film and what you learn from that film. Like, I've talked to NFL players, not saying that it's necessarily with the Cowboys, but I have talked to NFL players who have admitted they don't necessarily know how to watch film or what they're watching for. So it's like, do you have people in the building who are actually helping to develop your players both on and off the field? All those things can make a difference. Who's keeping the culture in check?
Yeah.
Like, when we watch sounds from the sideline, with the Dallas Cowboys, for example, we see guys motivating each other. We see guys who believe in each other. CeeDee Lamb, people act like he's just now starting to believe in his teammates. Like, no, if you listen to his interviews, he's had this same vibe of wanting to see his teammates do well since the beginning of the season. You know, that is something that infiltrates the mindset of your team, and it does make a difference. And I think what Malik Nabers was saying that, hey, some of those things, it's not just the quarterback, but some of those things are affecting this team. Don't just look at the quarterback. We need to look at, he didn't name anything specifically, to your point, but you can kind of infer, like, oh, there must be some coaching, some cultural, some other issues in play there.
So to piggyback off of what you were saying, I got kind of like two questions for you guys. First one, what is the difference between what Malik Nabers said and between a couple of weeks ago when Jerry Jones said we were losing when Dak was on the field? Okay? What's the difference between those two statements? Because it wasn't just quarterback play with the Cowboys. There's a multitude of issues why this team wasn't winning. Quarterback wasn't the sole issue of that. Also, second question, if you can say to people, what is the identity of this current Cowboys team, if any identity at all?
Well,
Okay, so
you
your
gave a
first
whole mouthful, but go ahead.
your first question
That's what she said.
about
Lord.
your first question about the difference between
right, if necessary.
That's what she said is fine. Pauses are unnecessary. What are we pausing for? The difference between
That
what
mouthful.
Malik Nabers said and what Jerry Jones said is a difference between what a lot of people say and what Jerry Jones said.
Yeah.
It's received differently when it's coming from your owner. Like, when it's coming from your owner, people are going to assume, sometimes correctly, that these statements are the basis on which a lot of important decisions are being made. And also, he didn't really call anyone out. He didn't say Dak is not good, per se.
Yeah, he did say
but he mentioned a name.
Yes.
You know, and I think had he been more vague and said, hey, I'm looking at more issues with this team than just the quarterback, I think it would have been received completely differently, you know. But it's that he said, oh, we were losing when Dak was on the field, and he went on to say, I thought we would look better with Cooper Rush. That is received completely differently than, hey, I think there's more going on with this team than just the quarterback play, you know. Now, as far as the identity of this team, I would say this team is very resilient. They have a lot of pride. Regardless of whether you think they should have that pride or not, they have enough pride to still be fighting at this point in the season. CeeDee Lamb, in his interview yesterday, talked about how much he believes in Mike McCarthy and how he loves Mike McCarthy. Now, I will say, I feel like that's the first time this season we've actually heard a player say it, But he said it with a level of sincerity that makes me believe he means it. And he has reason to, because I feel like any coach that can actually get the team to keep fighting at this point where they basically have to win out to have any hope of doing anything with this season, with the postseason, that Mike McCarthy is telling them something. He's doing something to instill that belief not only in themselves but also in their teammates. So, and how can you help but love somebody who's instilling that kind of feeling in you?
So may I ask y'all both a question right now? Based off of Mike McCarthy's body of work up to now, where we are with this team, is it justified for him to give him another chance next year?
Based on the standards of the Dallas Cowboys, yes. Now, I feel like there are a lot of teams who would still say no. But what we've seen from the Dallas Cowboys in the past tells us that there's not going to be some young OC who's doing, amazing things in the league, some revolutionary things, some innovative OC that they're going to bring in. When was the last time they did that? They usually find
he wasn't innovative, but Jason Garrett.
He
was innovative.
But that's my point. Yeah. But they like outside of Jason Garrett, it's usually a coach who just got